So hopefully right now what you're looking at is my starred list. These were a few things that I wanted to show today. Today is going to be a little bit of show and tell. If you do have, you can, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have the Google Meet presenting exactly what you see on the screen. So you can join in Google Meet if you're with us virtually. That's awesome. If you have any trouble seeing what I'm seeing, if I'm describing a horse and you don't see a horse, just let us know in the chat and I'll double check that. And then for those folks that are going to be here in person, we have a board behind us that has all this stuff in it. So today is going to be a little bit of show and tell and a little bit of question and answer to try to address any outstanding questions that you may have about G Suite, meaning anything Google, just anything Google at all. And also maybe give a couple new ideas, a couple things that you can take back to your classroom in person or virtually. So the first question that I have, I would like to throw into the Google Meet, but I'm going to ask those folks in person here too. If you've got any questions, you are more than welcome to put them in the Q&A. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see an activity window, and that's where you can put in questions if you have them, or you can put them in chat, either way. So here in Google Meet, it's the upper right-hand corner has these little shapes. There's a triangle and a square and a circle. And when you click on that, there's a Q&A option, and you're welcome to put questions in there. I will try to address them. Specifically, you can even upvote or downvote questions as you have them. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm also going to put in, I got to enable it, I'm sorry, a poll. And I don't think I can do this just yet because you're still the moderator, so that's okay. We'll leave it for later. Let me share first a quick list. This is a quick list of things that you should be able to see and find now in Google Meet. We sent this out already, and I wanted to make sure everybody has a copy of it. This went out via email not too long ago. But if you want a physical copy, I have it. And if you don't want it, you can have it. I'll leave these here if anybody else wants them. It comes in later. Oh, 42.
Please, yeah, and then I'll also add this onto as a link with the YouTube video.
Yeah, sure, of course. So again, if you have questions about some of this, please let me know. This is just a written list of all the new features that you should find now in Google Meet. These are all live, so everybody's got this. All teachers have them, and students have access to this too. I don't want to just read from it. I'd like to show you some of these, especially if you haven't had the opportunity to see it. And if you got other questions for me, we'll address them later. The ability to record meetings. So you can now record meetings and automatically save those meetings to Google Drive. So in your Google Meet, if you're in person or if you're teaching kids virtually, whenever they join the meeting, that meeting is recorded, and the only thing that's recorded is your face and your presentation, like you, the teacher. Students are not recorded unless they are the active speaker. So if students are talking, then they will be part of the recording. But if their microphones are muted, they will not. This automatically goes in a Google Drive folder, and I'll show you where that is here. Whenever you finish a meeting, the video is automatically saved in a folder called Meet Recordings. It should be immediately in your Google Drive, but you can also search for it if you need to. The Meet Recordings folder has all of your Google Meet recordings as soon as you finish the meeting. You'll see here I've organized mine by class. So I've got all of my tech theater classes here. If any students have been using the chat window, there is a chat transcript of everything said in the chat. So these videos and chat windows, these are all recorded as soon as you finish the meeting. Super helpful. The other thing that's recorded in the Google Meet is any polls, question and answers. Again, you're going to have a list of any of those things that were addressed in your Google Meet. So there's a meeting report that includes not only attendance, but if we tunnel here, I'll find the polling results. If I asked any questions in the Google Meet, those questions are going to appear here along with what answer students said. I've organized all of this in my Google Drive folder, but in fact, these are emailed to you within 5 minutes of your meeting. So as soon as you get done, you get an email and it has your recording, it has your attendance report, it has any polls, any questions that were answered, it's got all that stuff. They go straight to you and it's already saved in Drive. So it's very, very easy to attach this video in your Google Classroom and your students can review the video if they weren't able to attend that day, or if they had an internet connectivity problem, they can watch the video in Google Drive. So super simple. Going back to the list. Yeah, absolutely.
Record automatically, or is there something that you have to press?
You do have to press. So the question was, does it start automatically, or do you have to start a recording? And the answer is you do have to manually start that recording at the beginning of your meet whenever you're ready.
It will automatically send you the attendance reports.
But it will automatically send an attendance report as long as there's more than 5. If your Google Meet has more than 5 people, you're going to get an attendance report. If there's only 3 kids that showed up, you will not get one. And customization for that, the ability to change that number, that's coming. It's just not here now. So to start a recording, there is a little, when you're actually presenting, there's a little recording button available in your settings. So you go to the 3 dots and you can choose start recording. Right now it says stop because Courtney's already started it. So those are how recordings work. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to keep moving. This live streaming option, the second option down for live streaming, this is something we've not tackled yet, but it is available and it could be cool in the future if we decided to do school announcements or presentations or even like a special speaker. You could broadcast that throughout your entire school. And it's just the video. The students are not participating. It's just you streaming. Breakout rooms we'll do here in just a second. I'll show you kind of how those work, and then I'll pull everybody back. Attendance reports we've talked about. These show you, more than 5 people. You get a spreadsheet of who was there. Question and answer. This is where I'm going to need to use actually, I think I can do this from my computer. Question and answer, again, is under the activities menu. It's called Q&A. And let's present this tab instead. We'll do a little bit of inception here for those of you doing Google Meet at home. In the right-hand corner, you will find an activities button here. And the Q&A option is at the bottom. So you can ask questions of the person speaking. You can ask a question like, what is your favorite Google tool? You can ask that question, and as other people see that question, they can upvote it. So they can click to basically like it, and those liked questions move further on up to the top. So if you're teaching in your Google Meet, you can have students ask questions, address those as they come in. This kind of organizes things a little bit better than chat, in my opinion, but that's for you to incorporate if you'd like. The next thing on the list is polls, and this is where I'm going to need Courtney's help. So what Courtney's going to do is Courtney's going to put, if you can do it, that would be awesome. So Courtney's going to go to this upper right-hand corner and click on the activities button, and we're going to start a poll. And I would love to know what's your comfortability level with Google Meet. And we're going to say it's either like high, medium, or low. What's your comfortability level using Google Meet and some of these tools that we're talking about? Is it really high? Is it kind of in the middle? Is it really low? If you'll kind of maybe give some feedback here, that would help us tremendously. And for those of you in person, I'm just going to ask, like, how do you feel about some of these? Have you used anything in particular that has been successful?
I used the forms that I went ahead and created them because you can save them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're teaching and you're
Yay,
writing
thank you.
for it, you can then share it out and then kids can start presenting or start
Yeah.
selecting. And that was really helpful because I was still able to get that immediate feedback to see where kids were. And they couldn't see each other's feedback until after they submitted an answer.
Right. Right. You can turn that off.
Now I did turn it on so that everybody could see right away, but yeah, that is just a little
Mm-hmm.
toggle button.
Yeah, as a teacher, you can toggle the ability on or off for students to let everyone see their results. There's just a little button on the screen to do that. So it looks like most people are kind of in that medium region, maybe medium low. I got a couple that are high, and so that's great. We want to try to get as many people in that middle region, and then start to scoop people up into the high region too. That's fantastic. Quick access. Quick access controls are located in the bottom left-hand corner of the Meet. As a host, you're the only one that's going to see this. In fact, right now, and for those of you that are in person, you won't even see anything here. You'll see nothing in this bottom left-hand corner other than the name of the session. But on Courtney's screen, and Courtney, I'm going to ask if you'll share. And we're going to do something a little bit funky here. You're going to Perfect. And do you mind if I make your computer?
Yeah, go for it.
And so, same idea. For those people that are here, they can still see it. And for those of you at home, hi, now I'm on Courtney's screen. You'll see now in the bottom left-hand corner of this presentation, you're going to see this blue host control. And you'll notice it's different than what you see here, right? You're going to see a small blue host control button. And when you open that up, this is your quick access control panel. Quick access can be turned on or off. What this means is when you turn it off, students have to request to join. Anybody who's trying to get in has to request to join. So if I turned it off right now, and I don't know, name your favorite teacher. Rick Jesh. If Rick Jesh tries to join right now, because he's not here, if Mr. Jesh tries to join, it's gonna ask me if I want to let him join. When I turn quick access on, it means Rick can get into the meeting immediately. He can get in real quick. He doesn't have to ask for approval. So if you want your students to be approved before they get into the meeting every single time, you can disable quick access. It's on by default. I think the more helpful tool here is the ability to enable and disable sharing screen and chat. If you don't want your students using that chat window, you can turn it off, and the quick access control panel is where you do that. You can turn chat off. And I found that that's particularly effective for certain classes. Like there'll be one class that they're barely using it and they're using it well. And you got another class that's like going off the rails and they're putting jokes and they're like going back and forth, and it's just a virtual clustered mess. So being able to turn chat on and off at will and it immediately take effect, that is super handy. I haven't had any problems with sharing screen. I don't know if anybody else has had problems with sharing screen. I don't think most students want us to know what they're doing on their computer, but I am encouraged that this feature is available. You can turn it on and off at will. I think that's all I needed to show from the host panel. While I'm here, I'll show you the question and answer. As a teacher, I can mark this as hidden. So if I don't want to address that question and have students look at it, I can hide that. Or I can even mark it as answered, and then it kind of moves it to the bottom. So as a teacher, there are nice little extra features here.
let's touch quickly on breakout rooms. Has anybody used breakout rooms and been successful at using breakout rooms? Do you want to share a story? You're welcome to unmute and do that if you want to, or we'll have some folks here live tell us what successes or failures have you had with breakout rooms so far? So there was a question first. If somebody was trying to talk, I apologize. There was a question first. Angela asked if you can record the breakout rooms. Right now, the breakout rooms are not recorded. They are not recorded right now. That is a requested feature. That is something that is being worked on. The engineering team is working on that, but not currently. If you record the Google Meet, it's recorded, but the breakout rooms, no. So I wouldn't use breakout rooms unless you like fully trust your kids and you're hopping in on those breakout rooms. If you're going to each one and kind of checking it out and seeing what's going on. Again, the controls for that are in the breakout rooms section of activities. So when you open up a breakout room, you can decide who goes in which room. So I can set these up and I can determine who's in which room. I can put, these 4 or 5 people in this one. If I don't want Ryan in that one because he's going to cause a nightmare mess, I just drag him to the other one. So it's click and drag. You can title them whatever. So if you have one group, if group 1 is going to talk about, I don't know, the setting of the story, sure. If this is going to be the setting, you can even title it setting. If group 2 is going to be talking about the characters, you can retitle these rooms to remind them what they're doing. And then going back and forth to rooms is very simple. As a teacher, you just sort of hop in and out of them. The students can only get to their assigned breakout room and this main room. When you want to end the rooms, you just end them. You click on the end button and it'll pull everybody back to be with you. So pretty cool. I won't open these rooms right now because I think it's going to be a little bit of a waste of time. But if I were to click this open rooms button at the bottom, it would send everybody to their room and you would do whatever activity and come back. We've talked about at the high school, we've talked about creating, again, you saw probably in that document, if we were to go to e-learning, we'd like to have like a regular class time and then like 30 minutes, I think, of a study period that's built into the normal schedule. And it says on the schedule, it says something like study or breakout room. And that's what this is for. If you wanted to have students work in groups on an assignment, breakout rooms are a great way to do it. So you can have class, and then if you want to have 2, 3 or 3 students work together, or if you just want to end class and say, hey, see you tomorrow, use the time for homework, but 2 or 3 want to stick around, you can put them in a breakout room by themselves or let them stay in your room, but it's time for them to be able to work. You can put them in individual rooms. You could say, I'm going to create 5 rooms and I want you to go work on your own and I'm going to come in and check on you. That's a great way to use this either for group work or individual work during this 30 minutes in our schedule. I don't know if the junior high is going to be adopting that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's because it's a building level decision that we're debating right now. If we
Actually use breakout rooms. I teach special ed. And so when I had to be quarantined.
I'll put Courtney on the screen so she can.
When I had to be quarantined and was teaching from home, I was supposed to be giving a test. And I had a student who was just really struggling with the test. So I actually had him physically go to another room. And then I put him in a breakout room where it was just me and him. So then I could go and check on him, then go back to my Google Meet with all the rest of the kids and then check on him again. And so that actually worked really well. So just when you kind of need to physically separate.
Super, super helpful. And these are all available to us. I'll tack this on at the end as well. All of these features are available to us because we are an enterprise school. So the school has paid for us to have these features. Some of these are free, but some of these cost money. And so the school has supported us. Technology department has supported us by making sure that all teachers, all staff have enterprise licenses. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that, because sometimes some of these kudos kind of get lost in the mix. But our IT, whoops, sorry, I have to mute yours again. The IT department and Brent Evans and Dr. Thompson and the building principals have supported us in that endeavor. There are several schools that I've been in contact with who do not have enterprise licenses, and trying to figure out that is really complicated for them. They got to figure out what's free and what's not. You have everything, so you just get all the Christmas presents here. Whiteboard via Jamboard. We'll look at it in just a second. We'll look at customized backgrounds, and then finally hand raising. So whiteboard and just by a quick poll, you can say yes or no, or you can throw in the chat. Has anybody used the Jamboard whiteboard already? Have you had any experience with it so far?
I tried it and it was, I don't know, maybe I was doing something wrong. It just wasn't as user friendly as I expected it to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and again, maybe I was doing something wrong. Maybe I was in a hurry.
It is not super user friendly. I mean, like it's cool, but it's not as it doesn't have as many features as Word probably does. But if you use the features of Promethean, this is a little bit more limited. And that's probably that's fine. That's totally understandable. Yay, I love when I get to model skills in the middle of
Oh, it's fixed now.
the whole thing. Okay, let's just double check. Still able to hear me? Somebody just give me like a thumbs up or a yes or a no. Awesome. So this is one of the reasons, just to sort of zoom out for a second, this is one of the reasons I do not like, and I've had multiple people ask, like, can I present with one computer and then have another computer here nearby and like watch the kids on one computer and then have another one to present? And this is the complication that creates, is that the microphone is enabled on one of them or not on the other. And this is totally fine, but this is why I don't advocate to do that, because then in the middle of your virtual lesson, the microphone situation starts to go haywire. And so I don't advocate, this is my personal preference, I do not advocate to join from multiple devices and try to teach from multiple devices in one room. It sometimes creates that little difficulty, but thank you to Courtney for helping fix that. I think we should be good now. The features on this list, there were just a couple of them left. Whiteboard is what I'd pulled up. Whenever you do a whiteboard, it shares it with everybody. So above all of our comments in the chat, you're gonna see that I've shared a whiteboard in the meeting. And it's also attached in the bottom left corner. So as an attachment, this is now attached to the entire meeting for later. And I can just switch to sharing this tab pretty easily. And when I switch over, the Jamboard is like it's like a big whiteboard. You can flip your screen. If you have a touchscreen Chromebook, you can just write on your screen. If you're teaching from your active board, you can just write on the active board. If you have a MacBook, you have to use the mouse, but it's still pretty easy to use. Mine, I did this activity, and it's kind of like a Google slide. I assigned this page 1 to one student, and then I assigned page 2 to another student, and I told page 3 is going to be another student. We kind of went one by one. And so these slides, the students can follow the instructions. You can use a pen on top of it. You can insert pictures and add images. You can add shapes and text boxes. There's even a cute little laser pointer that has a little trail to kind of draw students' attention to a particular thing. So Jamboard can be really handy if you have one already prepared, or if you just want to kind of freehand it and be able to draw examples as you go. Really simple. Again, this is saved for later. So if you wanted to use this for multiple classes, yeah, just create one and then use it in the next class and the one after that. You don't have to keep drawing over and over. The customized backgrounds, you may already know about this because I think it's super fun. Most students have already been messing with this. If you've practiced using Google Meet in your class, your students probably already know how to find this. It's in the bottom right-hand corner. Again, those 3 dots. There's an option to change the background. And you now have the option to have nothing, right? There's no blur, like you can just leave everything there. You can do a slight blur to slightly blur the background. And so those of you in person can see where this is. Those of you at home are kind of seeing the effect of this. But again, it's in the bottom right-hand corner, the 3 dots, and then choose change background. You can look at it for yourself. There's a more enhanced blur here. So it's like a super blur as opposed to a light blur. The light blur just kind of draws your eye to you, and the big blur just blurs everything else out. But you'll notice you can still see like the flag behind me, and you can still see the wall. It doesn't really black it all out. It doesn't block everything behind me. But you can use any of the attached pictures to completely replace what's behind you. But you'll still notice some of the stuff around your head or around your arms. It may not be completely blocked, right? The camera is gonna try to figure out exactly where your hands begin and end. if I had a green screen behind me, this would be like quick work, but not everybody has a green screen. I think it's easy enough. If you're sitting in one place, we get kind of the right idea. You might just not all have your appendages. You might lose an ear every now and again. But there are some, there are some neat ones. There are fun ones. There are some that are pretty generic, like sitting in a kitchen or in the mountains or in your RV. There's just lots of different pictures that are already here. There isn't one that's just like plain black. It's not in here yet, but coming soon, we'll be able to have teachers and administrators upload pictures that can be used as a background. So in the future, we'll have the ability to put in like a picture of the Wildcats or, a picture of your school mascot, whatever that is. You can have that behind you. Students do not have the ability to upload their own photos. They do not have the ability to put their own background images. That is turned off by default. It's going to stay off as long as I'm asked for my input about it. I don't think that's a good idea to allow students to have their own pictures behind it. That's not a good plan. So we can gather some ideas and have teachers maybe have that ability, but students, not so much. This feature is available both on MacBooks and Chromebooks. So recently, as recent as like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we told everyone this is not available on Chromebooks yet. Well, now it is. So on a Chromebook, you have this ability to blur your background or replace it. All of your students have this ability as well. It does require a little bit more video processing power. So if your kids are on battery power, this is going to drain their device faster. To use the background replacement or background blur, it does use more battery. So it's a little bit of a give. If they're plugging in, it shouldn't be a problem. Last thing on my list was the hand raising feature, and this one is just really straightforward. If you look in your bottom gray bar, there's this option to raise your hand. And if you wanted to try it now, you're welcome to try it. When you press raise hand, it simply puts a little hand icon on your screen, and everybody else can see that you're raising your hand. Nothing happens. It's really just for the moderator to kind of see, or the teacher to see that, oh, someone has a question, they're trying to ask a question. Yeah.
And they will push the raise hand when they have a question, even though I can't see it, but it dings over their loudspeaker. So
if you're not on that screen, it will ding. Yeah, so if you've navigated away to a different screen and your students, they've raised their hand, but you didn't see it because you're on a different screen, there should be a little ding notification if you got your sound up. There should be a little ding that you can hear audibly to know that they have a question. I think you do get a little blurb in chat. Like if somebody puts something in the chat, you should hear something, but this is a different sound. It's a different kind of audible noise. Thanks, Angela, for mentioning that. So the last thing here, I know we're kind of like wrapping up. We're kind of be done by 4. I want to save some time for questions. I'm not going to go and read through all these because I don't think it's worthwhile. But I put some frequently asked questions in this list. And I apologize for the people that are joining us. I didn't put this in the chat window earlier, but I just did. If you went to look at this list, this was also sent out via email a couple weeks back. The frequently asked questions, these are things that I've been asked and other questions I've seen from schools and trainers across the world. The Google Certified Trainer group is, again, like worldwide, there's several thousands of us. And I mean, imagine like all the questions that y'all send to JH Help and HS Help and the help emails, like I get those, but from like everybody in the world. And it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes to try to like organize the emails, but some of these are really good questions. And if you have other questions besides this, feel free to email me or we can talk about some of these as we go. But I think that this will hopefully give you a better idea of how some of these enhanced new features of Google Meet work. Are there questions in this last 5 to 10 minutes? Are there questions about Google Meet or other Google tools that you may have? Because I'd like to answer those. And if not, I'll leave you with one last idea. Does anybody have questions? So the question was from Ashton, and Ashton asked, do you have to change any settings or enable anything to get your attendance reports? And the answer is no, you do not have to change any settings to get those attendance reports. You just have to have more than 5 people in that meeting. And so if it's less than 5, you're not going to get them. If it's more than 5, you should be getting the attendance reports. If you're not, please reach out. So if you know that you should be getting an attendance report and then you ended the meeting and you didn't get it, send an email to your building help email. And that's going to find its way eventually to like one of the Julies or Jeff or me. And somebody is going to take a look at why that might not have happened.
So 5, is that the 5 that have joined the meeting or the 5 that are included in all of the ones that you have invited?
The 5 includes anyone who's in the meeting actively participating. So that's you plus anybody who's in the meeting. If you invited 45 people, but only 3 show up, you ain't getting an attendance report. Does that make sense? So it's based on who's actively there at one time. It has to be 5 or more. And again, I hope that we can turn that down to just be like automatic, but not yet. Other questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns, quips, anything? The last thing that I'll leave you with is just, I want you to think about the last 45 to 50 minutes here and whether or not you had fun. Honestly, and I planned this whole thing. I want you to honestly think about whether or not this was engaging and fun for you, because it probably wasn't, and it wasn't meant to be. And I kind of wanted to make that point that as you just like zoom out for a second and just as a student here, right? Because you're kind of like in a student predicament. You've been sitting in a Google Meet for 45 to 50 minutes watching and listening to somebody else talk. And it's boring as all get out. Like I would rather gouge out my eyes right now than listen to somebody for 50 minutes. Oh my gosh. And we even did like a poll and we used the chat, but it like wasn't engaging at all. And so, yeah, like virtual learning can really suck. Like it can really not be engaging. It can feel really frustrating, but there are things that we have access to make it more engaging. Getting students to actively participate, like give them something to do, is a great idea. Let them work in a Jamboard. Let them work, in a breakout room, and get them to do something instead of just presenting the whole time. And I'll also mention that our school has Nearpod licenses. You can get a free Nearpod license. And you can take your Google Slides or your PowerPoint or whatever slide activity you had. You can use Nearpod to transform your lesson into a live, interactive lesson for your students. You can give them this link to the lesson that you want to present, and your students can follow along in the lesson. And when it's time to answer a question, they will have the ability to answer that question like in the slide deck, right? Or the ability to draw. We don't have a lot of time here. We only have about 2 minutes. But if you'd like, you could even do this now. I'm gonna share it in the window. If you click on this link right now, it's gonna open Nearpod for you. And I'll leave you with this idea that you can make your lessons a little bit more interactive by using Nearpod and Jamboard and things. When you engage with Nearpod, this is what it looks like when you open it. And you just put in your name, right? You put in your name and you hit join lesson. And then you're going to follow along with the teacher. When the teacher moves the slide, you move too. So on your slide at home, you probably just saw, and I'll share this so you can, if you didn't click on it, you can see what I'm doing. When I move my slide, you move too. So here's my teacher one, here's a student. Okay, so as a teacher, I'm moving on to slide 1, I'm talking here, students move with me. When it's time for me to say, hey, draw this for me, will you draw this out or will you do this equation? Students get, again, the screen that you see now, the ability to draw, put a text box. Students can participate. And this isn't Jamboard, it's Nearpod, but it's the same idea. Students can draw right then and there, and it's so cool. Love it to death. Whenever you're done, you can hit submit, and your teacher can look at it and grade it. It's good for, quick analysis. So using things like Nearpod, Jamboard, polls, these are all things that can get students engaged so they're not just simply listening to you for 45 minutes, because that's super boring. Okay. Other questions, thoughts, things? Feel free to stick around. If you have something that's like more specific, like just to you, but you don't want to bother everybody else, hey, feel free to stick around or email me, and I'll be happy to get with you or address that live or later. So thank you all so much for sitting here and engaging for 45 minutes. I will see you. I'll see you next time. Courtney, do you have anything else you need to say?
No, thank you so much. If you want to look back at this or reference anything, I will have these links and this on our TNT YouTube page.
Great. Okay. Bye, everybody.